execute on their own volition. That's why they're habits, so we don't have to think about them. So we don't even notice that we're doing things that are habitual to us. So has any of you, for example, ever had a friend or a colleague or a coworker or just someone who you are around consistently for whatever reason, maybe a teammate, a neighbor, and they had a bad habit, or at least to you it was a bad habit, or it was an annoying habit, or a nasty habit, or a frustrating habit, or some type of habit that just bothered you in some way that another person had, and you could tell, whether you're thinking about it now or maybe you thought about it then, that that person did not realize that the habit was annoying to you. All of us have had this happen. All right. Many of you have probably worked with someone like this. Maybe you've had a teammate in sports who was like this. Maybe you had a boss, or usually if it's someone who's a an underling to you, or you have superiority, you have seniority over them. You could probably tell them about the habit and make them do something about it because you had the power to do so. You had the authority to tell them about themselves. But let's say you had a boss who had a bad habit. You might not be able to tell your boss about their bad habit, or maybe one of your parents had a bad habit when you were a kid and you didn't like the habit, but you weren't in position to tell them that you didn't like the habit. Or maybe if you have a significant other who has a bad habit, maybe you can at some point let them know, hey, this habit is kind of not helping here. And maybe they did something about it and maybe they didn't. But we all have known people like this. I'm giving you that frame to help you understand that you probably have some bad habits that for other people, they don't like them. And maybe, again, they may not be in position to tell you, or they may not have the language skills to communicate to you that this habit is not, or at least it's not so pleasant to them, even though for you, maybe it's something that you like. Often it's something that you're not even aware that you're doing, that you would easily fix it if you knew about it, or change it, let's say, because you may not consider it to be broken. You would change it if you knew about it, but you just don't know about it because nobody's told you. And you're consciously unaware of it because that's the nature of habits. Habits, we are consciously unaware of them. This means we do things over and over and over again and don't even realize that we're doing them. If you listen to the show consistently, you notice that, and since I talk about this stuff, I notice a lot of things that are habitual for me. But there are still some things habitual for me that I may not notice, but I notice a lot of them simply because I talk about it. You may notice that I use certain language patterns. I use certain words certain ways. There's a certain tenor and tempo to the way that I talk. There's a certain uh, voice inflection that I use when I'm making my points and saying the things that I'm saying. There's certain words that I use often. There's certain words that I seldom use. Those are all habitual. Those are all habits of the way that I communicate. And you have your own habits that other people notice if they communicate with you or listen to you or read you or whatever it is often enough. So although it sounds simple to just change habits that are not serving us, and everyone constantly agrees that's a pretty good idea, the challenge is, first of all, noticing what these habits are, and secondly, changing them. Our habits are hard to break.